Well, good morning, everyone. Very good to be here again, and it's terrific to see a room full of people who are sharing something that's really very important in my mind. I was at Motorola for many years, and we were then the biggest private employer in Scotland, the biggest employer outside the government in Scotland. 9,000 people in the UK, 3 factories in Scotland, and things change very fast. A competitor came along, hurt us very badly, and that competitor today has been hurt very badly by another one. You've got to move fast, and I think what Hussein said this morning was you've got to have a vision and you've got to be clear about where you want to be 5 years from now, because it's just so easy in such a fast-moving world to find somebody coming down the corridor towards you. Things are moving literally at light speed. I'm going to talk this morning about the connected home, but in a broader context of profound shifts we're seeing in the way people use technology and the way that media is shifting and driving, in turn, changes in technology consumption. Hussein mentioned Korea this morning and the tremendous commitment that they have and the power they have. I was looking at the technology majors in China yesterday. Combined sales over $150 billion on the branded companies. They're very hungry for world branding to get into international markets. Contract manufacturing, Foxconn, well over $100 billion of turnover last year. A tremendous power coming out of China today. So, hopefully, with the miracle of technology, this will move ahead. No conference is complete without loads of statistics, and I don't want to present you with a blizzard. But what we're seeing is an amazing level of acquisition by consumers of connected devices, as we were just hearing from Intel. And it's not one size fits all. People are acquiring technology and keeping that technology for a variety of uses that they have at the personal level and at the household level. And when you look at these numbers, it's quite astonishing, as a matter of fact. These just come from recent consumer research we did in February, as a matter of fact, most of this. And in addition to the new gadgets that you're all, I'm sure, in the room carrying today, it's quite surprising to still see that over half of homes still have need for a desktop PC, for perhaps productivity reasons or whatever. So the message here really is that at very high levels these are average acquisition levels across the whole country. And this is, you've got to remind there are a lot of homes are really, if you like, below the line in terms of acquisition. And secondly, all of these devices are connected devices, effectively. Most of the DVRs are connected today. The game consoles are all connected. So consumers now faced with a tremendous choice of access platform, and to couple with that, they've got a tremendous choice of how to deliver to that platform. And what I want to do today is talk about how media is falling behind there. Just a couple of items on here. First of all, if you look at smartphones, 71% ownership. That's the population, by the way, not homes. And very soon to go up to 95 to 100% within the next year or so. And you're putting in consumers' hands a device with the power of a computer, basically, and effectively, to them, it's free. It's just wrapped up in a mobile contract and everything. Astonishing level of technology, getting more and more powerful all the time. And tablets, you see 29% acquisition, over 10 million sold last year. This year, probably 13 to 14, could even be as high as 15 million units. And so that means over half the people in the country will own a tablet, probably by moving into 2016. And again, what you've done is a second device, which is not only everything a smartphone is, but also is a very highly usable computing product. And that does call into question, do you need long-term, more static computing devices? Excuse me. And what's interesting about it is that you're presenting consumers with a choice of convenience and screen size and listening device, and you're really going to say, okay, what have you got? What do you want to listen to, and where do you want to listen to it, on what device? Whether it's an HD screen or an HD tablet, your choice. So we have the second screen phenomenon I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. We are not only empowering consumers, tremendous level of access. We are giving them apps to do anything they want, and we're here. I'm going to talk about entertainment mainly this morning, but in fact we've got sessions on healthcare and other Internet of Things elsewhere in the program. But there's an app for everything today, so the power of these products is not just about talking to somebody or messaging or anything else. It's about really a million things that you could do with it: healthcare, security, location, retail, wherever you are. Excuse me, frog in my throat. So just one point at the bottom, smart TV that Tony mentioned this morning, 22% of homes with a smart TV today. We expect that to go to 70% within 3 years. And you've brought an alternative delivery infrastructure into the living room. And what that really kind of asks the question is, okay, as a content provider, have you got a content, what is your business model for that content, and how do you want to deliver it? This is not about broadcast versus online anymore. This is about kind of what's the most cost-effective way for me to reach my audience. And you're going to see a bit of that just in a few minutes. It's also empowered consumers with tremendous creative power. Music, self-publishing. And over on the right-hand side of the screen are some astonishing numbers. Over a third of the British population every single day of the year accesses Facebook. A tremendous self-publishing and communications medium, which is affecting everything we do. It's becoming a way of life with people. So the immediacy of everything now is dramatically increased. If somebody coughs in Vietnam, you can know it in the next second. And the news is moving at light speed. So this affects the whole way you think about how you schedule your delivery to consumers and how you pick up news and how you distribute it. Right, so what I want to do is look at some media, if you don't mind, for a few minutes. By the way, we track markets all over the world, individual countries, consumer electronics, professional electronics, and media. So all this is built bottom up, country by country, all around the world, and it's sponsored by the big technology corporations, big entertainment firms, who actually use this research to try and decide what they're going to do next. Okay, so just a quick round. What we're seeing is what I call a digital shift going on across the media, right across everything. Books. E-books, last year actually I think it's about 18%. I've got the 2012 numbers on here. If you'd like to know the latest data, we have it. Let me know. And that's gathering momentum because you now have given consumers the devices which allow them to not carry paper around anymore. They still do. Lots of people do, and they will still continue to do so. This is a gradual change. But beyond books, you've got news publishing now, which is moving very quickly into the digital domain. And with it, the speed of delivery, and it's continuous news now. Music, well, we heard very interesting from Spotify. The digital shift is furthest advanced, actually, in music. And it's not without pain. I'm going to look at the music market in just a minute because there's been a major adjustment in the industry towards the new way of communicating with the consumers. Video, we're seeing the same transition, but at a slower rate, because the people who are driving that have been kind of trying to control their windows and their release windows to make sure they don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. But inexorably, it's now gathering momentum, and will follow the music model. And games, where digital is already over half of all game delivery is digital. And the gaming industry, too, I'm not going to talk about that in depth, has had to adjust to a new world of device ownership, where mobile games, for example, have really, really dented demand for dedicated handheld gaming devices like PSP or a Nintendo, because you're giving consumers tremendous value. You know, at 99 pence or $1.50, you get fantastic little games to play on handheld devices. So the whole business model of the handheld gaming industry has been revolutionized. I thought this might interest you to see how UK, in fact, is leading many of these trends worldwide. To say we track this right across all this stuff across the world, but the USA predictably is leading virtually in all markets in terms of digital uptake. But the UK is not far behind, and well ahead of many European countries where there's much more conservative or other cultural factors are perhaps restricting the rate of growth. Of course, we have a great affinity with the US media. We happen to speak English. They borrowed it from us, but nevertheless, we of course, are able to leverage all the power of American media coming into the British market, which does drive adoption rate. But you can see if you look at somewhere like Spain, where digital books are just 3% of demand versus 15% I mentioned earlier. They were slightly higher last year, by the way. So it's not a kind of, excuse me, not a pan-European model we're seeing. It actually varies by country. But the UK almost invariably leads trending in these new markets. Excuse me, just get myself adjusted. Right. Well, I want to look at music. As I said, this, and Pascal also said this morning, this has not been without pain, the digital transition, because the industry business model was built for many, many years around CDs and albums, and the average price point associated with that. When digital technology arrived, consumers were able to choose what they wanted to listen to, individual songs, individual tracks at a much lower price point. So what we saw, as you saw from the earlier presentation, was many years of erosion, in fact, the total market base. In fact, the market's half what it was in 2000 today. This is the world market, by the way. Oh, sorry, this UK market, beg your pardon. So even now, the subscription business, which is a very high value proposition to consumers, which is basically unlimited use for a fixed subscription, just like Sky Movies or anything else, is a tremendous value proposition, and consumers love it. And what that's doing, in fact, is limiting further growth in the pay-per-download business, because, as we heard this morning, you don't really need to own it anymore. You could just listen to it whenever you want, and you pay a fixed amount every month for the privilege of doing so. Some of those prices may have to be adjusted, and the companies that are driving the subscription business have to maximize revenue from their business models. Advertising has been one of their key revenue trends, but you're competing with the linear radio broadcasting advertising. It's a $30 billion business worldwide, just bulk standard radio on FM or DAB in the UK. Linear radio advertising, hugely bigger than anything that the subscription music service is currently doing. So they have to talk up subscription and build that up to put revenues back into the industry. So what's on this chart, though, is all of these challenges, these shifts, have actually been pain for many companies. Traditional music companies distributing packaged media, we've seen retail kind of disappearing from the market. But at the same time, it's created opportunities for a whole new breed of player, both in the hardware and the media space, who've seen where this is moving and have moved ahead of the market. So on the software and services side, as we heard this morning, we have firms like iTunes, Deezer, Spotify, Pandora in the United States is a dominant player. And on the hardware side, we've seen the companies who recognize that the personal music revolution was just about to occur and have put themselves into that market to take advantage of that. Apple, Bose, Sonos, Pure, who saw how the market was going to change and went with the wave. And I would say wireless mobile music has been the thing that's really is kickstarting this business, because everybody's connected now and can get these services on their phones and plug them into any device. So there's if you like, a music peripheral business in hardware built around this huge thrust of digital services, subscription programs, and mobile, which is the future, frankly. And if you see on this chart where subscription is going, and I'm really echoing what Pascal said earlier, this is what consumers love, and this is where they want to be. Anybody who uses Spotify in the room, the subscription version, knows just how terrific it is. It is absolutely brilliant. That's a plug, Pascal. I'll get paid for that later. Okay, let's look at video now. And I'm dwelling on media because I think it's important to understand how this push-pull is working in the market, that the device seeding, if you like, is going hand in hand with a shift in digital media, and the two things are self-fueling. So you've got a virtuous circle occurring in terms of driving demand for devices. This is video, a not dissimilar pattern, but the erosion has been less in the market. The overall contraction has been constrained because at the end of the day, you always had a video rental market, and you haven't got this album to tracks kind of shift that occurred in music. But nevertheless, it's a no-growth market. And this is not good news for the people that generate content, the studios, who basically everybody wants to grow. And what they're doing is, trading off the digital sales for physical media, which was the highest price point. In other words, DVD and Blu-ray. And you can see here how savage now we see the future for packaged media in the space. This thing is moving digital very, very rapidly indeed. And it's created challenges. I mean, well-known high street brand, Blockbuster's gone. HMV has struggled. Amazon and Tesco are moving into the online space. And you've got new players like Netflix, who's today, I would say, a household name in many countries. 5 years ago, nobody would have heard of them. They came along with a new all-you-can-eat subscription model, online delivery, and a terrific product platform, and a very clever connected device strategy where they put their brand on everything. And that's the key to this thing today. There's no exclusivity anymore. Everybody wants what they're subscribing to on any device regardless. So the days of locking up an end-to-end system are pretty well over now. iTunes would not be the success it was if it was just on Macs, right? The masterstroke was putting it on PCs because that gave you the whole market access, absolute masterstroke. So this is not a bad news chart because everybody understands what's happening now. But nevertheless, the important thing is that all that online shift is creating more and more demand for technology that feeds off that, just as we've seen in the music market. Well, we're often asked the question, well, what about linear broadcasting? Isn't that dead? Well, not yet. Greatly exaggerated. Actually, over 90% of all viewing today is still linear broadcast schedules. They may be time-shifted by somebody with a DVR, and you've got catch-up TV growing at a strong rate, over 20%. But the bottom line is that consumers, as far as leisure time goes, basically are still rather passive in many ways. They're not all searching for everything all the time. They want to just sit down, throw the boots off, and watch the football at 8 o'clock. Or maybe at 9 o'clock, plus 1 hour channels. There's even plus 24-hour channels now. Or I missed it, I'll watch it on demand. Or I shifted up my DVR. So we've kind of taken the time domain, if you like, has been taken out of broadcast. But the industry is still driven by schedules. You've got a new series, you're going to market it, you're going to launch it on a certain day at a certain time. Your whole marketing campaign is built up to that release, and then a sequential release for 26 weeks after that. If you telescope all that down, as Netflix has done, for example, and put it all into the pot on the one go, that's one model, fine. But generally, the public are still pretty much in tune with channel, favorites, program loyalty, channel loyalty. That will change. Everything is going on demand, and that presents broadcasters with a tremendous challenge. So I'm not understating that. This is, but at the moment we have a relative position of stability in the market. And it comes down to funding. At the end of the day, if you look at the British market structure, you see that subscription advertising and license fee are kind of relatively stable, as a matter of fact. And viewing is relatively stable. The channel shares of the big portfolio, BBC, ITV, BBC Two, the channel shares, including their multi-channel portfolios, are the same today as they were 7 years ago. Nothing's changed. Completely stable, around 70%, including multi-channel. So what's happening is the fact that new players like Netflix and Amazon Prime, or previously LoveFilm, are actually eating into the packaged video market, not the broadcast business at this point in time. That will gradually change, but nevertheless, I think it's important that we as a company, are we getting a balanced view of what is happening in the market? So broadcast is far from dead, and in radio, we've seen a reinvention of broadcast through DAB. Actually, the UK is uniquely strong in DAB for a number of reasons, not least the fact there were unique channels available for the BBC to drive it. But nevertheless, it's still a very healthy business. So how is pay TV, or how is pay TV reacting to this whole online digital media shift? Excuse me. Well, it's having to reinvent itself because it's no longer a question of delivering through a set-top box a program to a television, although that is still today easily the highest point of value, but also delivering it to any device anybody wants, whenever they want it. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I foamed through. And also, thanks, Tony. Cheers. And also innovating with things like first into HD, first into 3D, to make sure that, excuse me, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, I'm really unwrapping. That basically, when you subscribe to television services, are they providing you with innovative value that make it all worthwhile? So companies, particularly Sky, also has moved into broadband and voice as well. You've got to add a much bigger value proposition or present that than you did previously. One last chart here about the impact of devices. This is actually the iPlayer, BBC iPlayer data. We've looked at it over the last 5 years on the same spot point every year. And what you see here is basically what I was saying earlier about device ownership, is the viewing has shifted away from computers very strongly to be replaced in the main part by tablets and mobile devices, because that's the new computing paradigm. The new information paradigm is that thing in your hand. It's also significant, by the way, that pay television has had to bring free catch-up TV into its portfolio as a value proposition to consumers to avoid losing subscriber interest, keep them focused on the platform. So now you get BBC iPlayer on Sky or Virgin or whatever. Okay, one last chart, and I'm going to exit. This bit sounds a bit corny, but it's only just beginning as we see it. The broadband connectivity is just at the first level, and already you've got over, actually this is an old chart, I beg your pardon. The latest data on superfast home broadband is 30% of homes, not 20. Excuse me, this is an earlier version of the chart. And we'll go up to, if the government's objectives are met, over 90% of homes will have superfast broadband by 2017. And the average speed, by the way, is over 40 megabits a second on fixed broadband now, in the superfast category. It's absolutely astonishing, really astonishing what's happening. And mobile broadband is not far behind. Currently about 5, maybe 7%, at least 60, possibly even higher, in people who've got mobile broadband wherever they are, at home or overseas. So the level of connectivity and access is quite tremendous. Okay, well, I've got another 68 charts, but I won't show them, Tony. I think I'm going to have to close at this point because we want to get into the panel session. But if anybody would like to know more about any of this stuff, just come and see me during the lunch break. Very happy to tell you what we do and whatever else. Thank you very much.